some Be
Good
Real
answer.
on there. So, what am I doing here? Start recording, double record. All right. So, yeah. Taryn and I were talking about tits.
Love it.
And
what about them specifically?
How they grow, and how she around year 5 had another little spike of
Oh, really?
yeah.
It's like I'm on my 5th year of puberty.
Pretty much.
So I've on top boob growth for a while. So it's the last one I had was like a few months back where I was just like, oh, the burning nipples. I'm like, here it comes again. And now they're like,
God. And then you have to get like new bras every time.
Sometimes, yeah. Like I've actually thrown out or kind of donated probably at least 30 bras over the last 5 years.
That's a lot of bras.
Well, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Right now I'm a 49 and I think maybe a C or a D.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right.
Yeah. I think people in the street.
I was an A growing up, and now I'm like a B, a solid B. That's
solid
B. As far
B.
as I'm going.
These are like A's right now. So, but the year 2 to 3 is when a lot of things happen. In year 5, a lot of things happen. So, but it doesn't bother me that much. I'm happy with them. So,
and you look good. Yeah,
they're super perky. Well, you've seen them, so they're perky as fuck. So
I have. You gratuitously show them at every opportunity.
Oh yes, I do. I do. I
gotta flaunt it.
Oh, I fucking send nudes everywhere. I mean, we have the NSFW channel in our Discord, and you have full nude Vanessa in there. So,
oh my God, I haven't been in that one.
In all her glory.
Oh yeah, I haven't done it in a while since I've had my labia reduction and clitoroplasty. That's all looking a lot nicer down there now too. So
nice.
But it's nice not having. What's that?
Look out for more pics.
Yeah. Well, it's nice not having a labia sticking to my leg all the time, which is what was happening. So
yeah, that doesn't sound. That's like you might as well just have a scrotum that's going to stick to your leg.
Yeah, pretty much. And fuck that. Sorry, Taryn. Fuck that.
Bro, you're not offending me.
I don't miss it at all. So, Gabby, are you okay? After I backed up earlier, and apparently she was right behind me, and I ran over her, and Taryn got to see her scream. So, but hopefully she'll behave herself for this recording.
I know my cats might chime in. You never know.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yep. Happens a lot in our background.
Okay. Should we do a show?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, I'll do a show. Okay. Struggling with my voice after surgery, so it didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. I'm really not that happy with it, but
oh no, well I think
it is
so great.
Well, it used to be so low that even with the 30% reduction, but my vocal cords aren't touching when I talk, and so there's a lot of deep resonance. But especially when I'm stressed and shit like that. So anyways, who knows how much of that I'm going to leave in at the beginning. But wait. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Transcending Humanity. I am joined today by my co-host Taryn and Hannibal Lecter's girlfriend, Kate Bridal. Kate is one of the hosts of the Legal Burnouts Podcast. I was a guest on their show maybe 2 months ago now, a month and a half, 2 months ago now. And it was a lot of fun. If you want to hear me getting very sexual with a microphone in the opening, you can do that. I did a little bit of ASMR. Left and right. This really doesn't come out very good in podcast format, though. If you're listening to this in your car, it probably sounds like shit. But yeah, so we're going to be talking today about burnout in the trans community, which is extremely just prevalent. We're all just fucking exhausted. If you listen to the show, you know how exhausted we are. And the amount of spoons it takes just to get up every day is it's a lot. So Kate, I'd like to give you a second to just introduce yourself.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you, both of you, for having me on. And Taryn, it's so nice to finally actually talk to you because we interact a lot on Instagram and both love Mads Mikkelsen, of course. But it's so nice to actually get to speak to you and see your lovely face. I am as Vanessa mentioned, I am the co-host and co-founder of the Legal Burnouts Podcast. We are a podcast that is dedicated, originally we were dedicated to exploring the issue of burnout in the legal industry specifically because my co-hosts and I are all former legal industry employees and noticed that we and everyone we knew had burned out. So we figured there was probably a reason for that. And now we're branching out a little bit to focus more on burnout more generally, which is why we had Vanessa on to talk about her experience with job hunting and the whole election fucking situation and all of that fun stuff. And yeah, I'm a former attorney. I was practicing for a couple of years doing nonprofit work, homelessness prevention work in LA during COVID, which, as you can imagine, was very difficult and burned me out pretty quickly. But before that, I lived a couple of lives. I went to drama school right out of high school. Then I worked with chimpanzees who spoke sign language in undergrad. And then I went to law school. So I've been all over the place.
Holy
I
shit.
love a nonlinear career path. And now, as Vanessa mentioned, I also make silly videos where I pretend to be in a relationship with Hannibal Lecter on Hannibal Lecter. Should at least say his last name right. He would literally kill me. On TikTok and Instagram. So follow me at Bridal Party of 5 if you want to see some of that ridiculousness.
I'll link that too in the description. But yeah, her stuff's funny. And I didn't know that you had some acting training too. That makes a whole lot more sense now with your TikToks because you actually know what you're doing with yours. So
thank you.
Taryn, just pop in. How are you? What's going on with you?
No, I mean, it's just work. The work of a marketing leader never stops. So it's just, it's kind of before you joined, Kate, I was telling Vanessa that, I do social media personally, right? But it's I have to do it for, so I feel like I'm doing double duty. So
oh my God, yes.
Where I've got poke and prod people to elevate stuff and just been doing a lot of content writing and stuff like that. It took probably about a week and a half off from posting any trans related stuff. So just, just feel like it's, it's kind of a little tense, I think, with Nex, their murder, or his murder. Just kind of pull back a little bit. I'm going to just ghost LinkedIn for a little bit. But other than that, okay. And I got to be honest. I mean, so y'all know I'm a liberal. I actually really enjoyed the, I know, right? You're shocked by that.
I'm floored.
So I really enjoyed, I'm a political geek, and I really enjoyed the State of the Union. So watching, Uncle Joe really lay into some people really kind of put a smile on my face. And then watching Handmaid's Tale rebuttal and just everything about it. So I kind of I stayed up and watched MSNBC until about 1 a.m. So I was I've got to see Michael Steele's hot take on this, Handmaid's Tale thing. So I've been having a little fun with politics, but yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's spoof of that. Talk about perfect casting. Where did that come from? That was legendary.
Okay, I don't know what any of that. I gotta get on my shit. I obsessively doom scrolled the entire time that Trump was in office. So for 4 years, I was just constantly on the news. The second Biden got inaugurated, I just stopped looking at the news because I burned myself out, honestly, from just looking all the time. And now I'm way too much of a slacker. I need to probably at least look at the important stuff, like the State of the Union in an election year.
It's a real thing. I mean, when Obama got elected, it took off 4 years. It's just okay, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
You were the world's probably not going to end if I don't look at what's going on.
I mean, but during the Trump years, I spent every morning at 5 a.m. Just doom on Twitter and responding in a very sarcastically English way to Donald Trump. I was probably one of the only people who sassed him every day and we never blocked. I was a little offended, but before the trans menace, I was the liberal menace. So
that's amazing.
Just the menace in general.
Pretty much.
So menacing. So Kate, for our listeners, define burnout for us.
My God, I really wish that Rhea, my co-host, was here because she's an actual anti-burnout coach. And
Yeah,
she
she
would
is.
probably have an amazing, like, succinct, but I think I remember the definition that she has given. So burnout is actually a result of sustained and unmanaged stress. So you can be stressed without burning out. You can not have burnout without being been stressed. So it's basically about stress management is preventing burnout. And some of us obviously have more things to be stressed out on a daily basis than others. So that is part of why burnout is a much more prevalent issue among women, particularly global majority women, the trans community, obviously, LGBTQ folks in general, because all of us have one or multiple additional layers of identity that mean we have to navigate the world differently day to day, and that we have to deal with different bullshit, quite frankly, than everybody else day to day. And of course, the more layers of identity you get away from straight and white and cis and male, the harder and harder it gets, and the more prone to burnout you become.
Mhm.
So that's the basic definition of burnout. Hopefully,
That's a pretty good definition. What sorts of burnout do you face currently?
currently, I'm actually doing relatively okay. I started a part-time job, and I was like, because I've been doing this work now for almost a year and doing the podcast for almost a year, I've learned so much. And I set up boundaries right away. I was really proud of myself. I was like sending Rhea and Josie all these messages about, like, I sent an email and I said this and I made sure that they'll respect my hours and all of this stuff, which they have been. They've been great. And so that element of structure that I haven't had for 7 or 8 months voluntarily, I rage quit my tech job and lean into the podcast for the last little while. I have actually found has made me much more productive, like the last couple of weeks. Just knowing that I have these hours to work in the morning and then the afternoon I dedicate to content has actually really helped me. But at the same time, one of the things that makes me prone to burnout is I am inclined to say yes to a lot of stuff. And especially when I'm excited about things. And I've noticed myself start to creep into that a little bit. So I'm being aware of that. And I noticed, like, this morning, my anxiety was kind of bad. So I'm trying to check in with myself a little bit. But generally, that is my risk for burnout these days is my own self-relationship, my own lack of boundaries around work and productivity. And of course, just like existing in the world and being a human being.
Existence is pain.
Really?
Yeah. How about the two of you? I want to hear from both of you. Like, I mean, apart from the obvious, what kind of do you feel like you're in a state of burnout right now, or are you skirting around it? Vanessa, I feel like I know your answer, but
Yeah, I'll let Taryn go first.
I mean, I got to be honest. I've been in the same career field for about 27 years. I think 28 November this year.
amazing.
And I think marketing and design is just geared, probably like legal, right? Is to like being burnout prone. And I live in a constant state of like fight or flight burnout. So for me, my last episode really got bad because I was doing some volunteer work. So I volunteer for a strategy forum, right? And it's not necessarily in my job function, but it's like something I feel like I'm trying to expand my mind and try different things. So, but it got too much. And I'm telling you, like literally 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, I was having panic attacks like on a weekly basis. My heart rate was like at 100 beats per minute resting, right? Like I just was losing my stuff because I was planning a marketing summit in Utah, which also creates more stress because it's Utah. And I know that I'm like literally, unwelcomed. So I had this thing building and building. It's like this giant boulder. So after the event, I had set some boundaries with the volunteer function. And we negotiated on something that, we can both have. Like, I get a little bit peace of mind and not die of a heart attack, and they get some marketing work freelance. So it's been doing a little bit better. And when you were saying setting boundaries, one of the things I do, and this sounds very I don't know, retail, like very transactional, but I'm only doing things that benefit me, right? And if there is no benefit to myself, like if it gives me a strategic advantage, a financial advantage, a tactical advantage, then I'm going to do it. But if it's just showing up to do something, I'm like, I kind of blew something off for work this weekend. You know, I had a horrible headache on Saturday. That was actually my official excuse, but I didn't want to go because I'm like, it's Saturday. I put in all my time this week, cranked out all this stuff. I'm like, can I just chill out, drop a gummy and like stream some Netflix or something?
Right.
You know? So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to put myself forward and just saying, you know, does it benefit me? Is there benefit from me in it? Or am I just giving and giving and giving and getting nothing in return?
Oh, I love that because it is so, especially for women, like it's just the expectation, right? Like socialized, trained, and expected to be the person who's doing all the things and remembering all the stuff. And it gets to be a lot, even at work. And like that people don't mean to do it to women in the workplace, but it happens. Like stuff just falls on you and you're like, why is that my job? I don't know about that.
Because you're a girl.
So impressed you. Yeah. But I'm so impressed that you've been in marketing for so long. Because I actually really loved my marketing job and like the marketing side of it. But I know what you mean. It's a lot and it changes so much. You get pulled in so many directions, which I find really exhausting.
Most of my burnout stories involve that. A little bit on the politics and stuff like that, but a lot about marketing. You know, there's stuff that like ordering a pizza on a Friday night, dropping a gummy, getting high, right? Chilling out with some Rachel Maddow. And your CMO is like, who the hell approved the CMO campaign at 7:30? I'm like, at work, you know, eating pizza high and like Rachel's in the background. I'm like, oh my God.
You're like, I cannot deal with this crisis right now. I'm not in the state of mind. Yeah.
Exactly. But I still had to do it. Right. And like, that's the kind of thing you have to persevere. I mean, that's the expectation is like, and I think, I don't know what generation y'all are in. Probably, I'm going to guess millennial.
I am.
Right.
I'm an Xennial.
Oh, okay. Transitional. So for me, I just think as a Gen Xer, there's a whole different mindset with that. Like when I was brought up, you know, kind of raised and you get your early influences with your parents, right? It's just kind of like you just got to suck it up and take your lumps, right? And just deal with it. Like no complaining, just like plow through it. And I mean, I'm telling you, like that kind of toxicity, it was like 20, 25 years of dealing with that stuff on and on. Yeah. And it's still a constant fight, right? So I feel like generationally, there's, you know, like boomers don't show it. And like, you know, they're buying their Mazda Miata, you know, convertible when they're 55 and, you know, they're drinking and they have, you know, they're throwing their third wife or, you know, whatever it is. But it's like, it somehow manifests.
Yeah. And they're doing all of that and claiming that they never burned out. Like that burnout wasn't a thing for them and that we're so sensitive. It's like, okay, well, maybe if we examined some of the situations that you find yourself in, you might learn actually that those were the results of you having some ill behavior because you were burned out from, you know, grinding constantly in a job that you didn't really like. Not that all boomers did that, but, you know, plenty of them did. And my sister's an ex-Xennial also, I think. And it is interesting. It's kind of slightly different between the generations. And I think millennials, like the thing that we struggle with most is that we were told like, oh, well, if you go to school, you can do anything. The world is our oyster, blah, 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 blah. Like just get an education and everything's possible. And then it's like, we start doing that stuff. And then we're like, wait, this isn't what you promised us. And boomers were like, well, that's your fault. You're not working hard enough. And we're like, but hold up. And so we get all these mixed messages of like the fantasy and the reality. And we're still like also realizing maybe we just kind of want to be teenagers forever and just do what we want to do. And we're all just navigating that. Whereas Gen Z is like, comes out of the womb knowing these things.
Yeah.
Millennials are like learning the hard way, I feel like.
Yeah, millennials we're a very, I like how you said how we just wanted to stay teenagers because, I mean, if you just look at us and our pop culture and everything, we're still obsessed with everything that when we grew up, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm 42 now, millennial / Xennial really. And I don't want to grow up. I just want to be a Toys R Us kid, you know?
Yeah.
And poor Toys R Us, they got like,
Tragic.
yeah, well, they kind of came back, but they're in like this little corner of Macy's stores, and it is so pitiful. Like, why? It's a slap in the face. Poor Jeffrey. They have like a little Jeffrey statue there.
Remember how
And
exciting it used to be when your parents were like, we're going to Toys R Us?
yeah, kids don't get to experience that anymore. Though we had an interesting thing. Amazon actually sent a toy catalog, and it was so nostalgic to just flip through this physical toy catalog.
Yeah.
And I miss that. My kid fucking loved it. So
I just did that with my nephew, actually, with a Mindware catalog, as it's his birthday in just a couple of days. And I was like, show me what you want. And of course, he pointed to like everything on every page. And I had to do my own narrowing down. But yeah, it was super fun to just be like, oh, let's flip through this. And he loves reading and books anyway. So I'm very into it. Yeah.
Oh, nostalgia. We feed on it.
So, going through the catalog and being like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this.
You know what I miss is Sky Mall.
Yes.
That was the best way to kill time on a flight, was just be like, so I can get I was back at my parents' house, and I just found my boyfriend, my very first boyfriend in high school, bought me Arwen Evenstar's pendant from Lord of the Rings out of Sky Mall magazine. It was like $70. Big deal for like a 15-year-old. And I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings. And I just found it. I brought it home. I have it in my drawer now.
Hey, no, that does not go in your drawer. You wear that.
I should have worn it right now. I'm really sad, actually, that I'm not now. But it's a little long. You wouldn't see it.
So you said something earlier that kind of resonated with me, your rage quitting. It reminds me of when I left my family's business, which I haven't really talked a whole lot about my past with my family's business, but it was about as toxic of a workplace as you could possibly get. And when I left, because it was a cycle of abuse when I was there. And the sense of relief that I had, like when I left, I had no idea how badly burnt out that I was. But I was suicidal towards the end because it was just so hard. And so just that like rage quitting thing, I rage laid myself off, but the freedom I had, I took a couple months to just not really do anything.
Yes.
And then eventually I started like driving for Uber and stuff like that. But it was the most liberating thing ever. And it's that release from burnout it's euphoric, really, on the level of gender euphoria, honestly. And it was pretty crazy. I think a lot of people can relate with that too. Just like when you've been stuck at a job that's just horrible and you hate it, and you finally have the opportunity to leave for one reason or another. It's a lot like it's kind of like going through a divorce in a way. Like the sudden just responsibilities lifted off of you. And it is wild. Absolutely wild.
And it can be painful in some ways too, because there was so much about that job I really loved. It just came to a head eventually, and I was just like, okay, well, I can't do both these things. And so it hurt, but I felt the same way. I was just like so liberated, so energized, just felt really empowered, like the most empowered I probably ever felt. But I will say that can be a little dangerous in itself, because then, of course, I just threw myself into the podcast and I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to edit until 1 a.m., and I had to take a step back in doing the podcast and learning from other people that like, okay, you can take yourself out of a bad work situation, but if you don't work on your own habits as well, this is a recurring theme on our podcast, your self-relationship, chances are if you've burned out, you have some element of something that you were doing that's contributing as well. Not that you're completely responsible, but there are things that you could have done differently, like boundaries, etc. And I've learned that the hard way. And also burnout recovery, especially if you're that burned out that extremely. I'm so glad that you just took time to do nothing. It can take up to 2 years to recover from severe burnout. Per Rhea, again, these are facts. If I say a fact about burnout, chances are I've learned
It's from Rhea.
But or one of our other amazing guests, but it can take so long depending on how severe it is. And so I'm really glad that you did that. And then that you did a job like Uber driving, you're working, but like it's a lower stakes thing than running a business, right? It's still almost like a break when you've been doing.
There's not much brain power involved. So
exactly. You can just kind of zone out and you're like, I'm making money and stakes are very low. And that can also be kind of a good thing. Just like give yourself a break. Don't view it as stepping down, as like a step down or anything. Like if you can, do what you need to do, give yourself a break and take maybe a little lower stakes job if you're concerned about resume gap money, what have you, which is obviously legitimate.
That's part of my burnout
to
right
do
now.
what I did was really, I had a lot of privilege because I had a supportive spouse and, you know, I wasn't going to be, I was okay financially to just be like, I'm walking away for a little bit. But I recognize not everyone's able to do that.
I had a little
Give
bit
yourself
of
a break with a lower stakes job. Sorry, Taryn, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I just was going to chime in. I had a little bit of that in 2020. So, you know, moved from one burning ship. Like every time I leave a job, I never rage quit. I just jump from one burning ship to another. We'll see how fast it's burning. So I was in a business I hadn't done before, but working in a marketing role where they threw literally like I had like 27 different things in my job when COVID hit, and I'm kind of an extrovert, so like I require humans to be around me. Like I don't know, maybe a lion with the gazelles, just like in the background, right? You know, like you need somebody there. So being alone and isolated and working 12 hours a day was crushing for me, and I mean, I was stressed out. I was just burning up. I was uninterested, like every typical thing you can think of, right? And when I expressed some of this stuff to my manager, my direct manager, I got a crying emoji in Slack. And like that was literally it. And I felt like just and hopeless, right? So a couple months later, they needed to acquire, by the way, one of my techniques that I do when I leave a job is I block everybody that was in leadership for that
Smart.
job. So I don't want you to see me. Like you're dead to me. I mean, I know I did find out.
Tragic that you have to do that to protect yourself, but
one of the people I blocked years ago was outing me on Facebook. So it's like I found that out through a friend. So that's like during that period, right? It was really stressful. I was relieved when I got laid off, right? And I was just like, because I hated that place so much, the boss, everything. The culture was toxic. So you know what I did was I had Roku money left over from a previous burning ship. So I sold stock and that helped get me through that entire COVID layoff. Wow. So I was able to do some education for the first time. So instead of like, you know, doing whatever I can for $1, right, during a layoff, I educated for 3 months. I hiked like 3 or 4 times, like a month, sometimes more, did a beach hike. We would eat great meals, like just healthy cooking and stuff like that. And but I was privileged, right, to have that ability and have that cash, but it got me ready for the next job. You know, like I still had nightmares that 3 months after the layoff of how inadequate I was from this boss. I would have these like recurring like imposter syndrome nightmares. And then after just going through that whole thing and working through the burnout, I was able to get back into a company. And of course that blew up with transphobia and everything. So I ended up leaving that burning ship. But it just strengthened me, right? It helped me kind of what I call it is resupply, rearm, and rest, and just get back.
I love that. And the thing about rest is it's hard for a lot of people. Like
it is.
We were not trained that it was okay to just exist and just rest and just be with ourselves unless it's a reward for something else, especially again, as women. But you're like, that is something that I'm really trying to separate is if you need to feel productive, you can think about rest as being something productive because it is going to help you reset. I mean, think about the quality of your work when you're really tired, or if you've ever been burned out. I mean, that's when you start making mistakes, you start missing things, you start being really mad at yourself for sending that email with that typo that you read 15 times and you didn't catch it somehow. Like all of that stuff you can avoid if you just, before you get to that point, say, it's okay for me to stop working. And some people have jobs and bosses like your boss, Taryn, who's like, giving you something to do at 7:30 at night on a Friday. But to the extent that you can shut off, you can set the boundary and make the choice and reframe how you're thinking about rest. It's not a reward. It is something you need, and it is something you need to continue to be productive. So just fucking let yourself do it. It's hard though. I still struggle all the time.
Yeah, no, it is. It's almost a radical concept, right? Of like rest without motivation. I like to blame the Puritans for bringing that shit message. That's really, there again, I see another non-safe for work podcast because of my potty mouth. But yeah, so Puritans, blame them for that shit.
Yeah.
Taryn, this podcast is always not safe for work. It's rated explicit.
I was going to say, I didn't even ask. I was just like,
yeah.
launching.
Well, she apologizes like a lot, like, oh, pardon my French. You don't fucking have to. Fuckity, fuck, ass shit, fuck whore.
It's your show.
Yeah.
Say whatever the fuck.
Apologize to otters and stuff like that when I'm talking to vendors and their recorders are playing. I'm like, I'm sorry, recorder. I'm really profane.
I love it.
They're just words, and there's so much power in those words. So, fuck it.
It's cathartic.
It is.
Part of treating burnout, honestly. It's just letting yourself kind of feel that stuff and say stuff. Josie, one of my co-hosts, my OG co-host, she was just talking about how one of her things that she likes to do when she's feeling really overwhelmed is in the privacy of her own home, she just out loud says everything that she wanted to say exactly the way she wanted to say it. Not mincing words. Like, if I could talk to that person the way I really wanted to, this is what I would say. And she just gets it out. And that's like one of her ways of, completing the stress cycle, which is also something I've been learning about a lot, which is, your body responds to stress in a fight or flight way. And if you don't complete that cycle in some way with like, it could be physical movement, it could be somatic stuff, tapping, EFT tapping, I've just learned about that. Or it could be deep breathing. It could be going for a walk. It could be taking a nap if you need to. It could be crying. It could be screaming into a pillow. All of those things help you work through the stress cycle so it doesn't continue, because the thing is, if you don't complete it, you're going to continue to be in that stressed state, and your anxiety won't go down. And that just causes more exhaustion, because the more prolonged you're feeling that state of anxiety, the more severe your exhaustion and burnout is going to be as a result.
When you said that, she waits till she gets home to just air out everything. Maybe it's just my autism, but I just fucking tell people. It gets me in trouble. But, I've been very blunt about it. Like, I remember someone, I feel bad about it now, but someone that I just didn't really like that much was just unloading all these problems and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I just told them, like, I don't care. And made me feel better, made them feel like shit. And afterwards, I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I don't know. Taryn,
who knows what kind of stress cycle you initiated in that person?
Oh, yeah. I consider myself my alignment chaotic neutral. I'm not good. I'm not evil. I'm just fucked up. And it's fun. But Taryn, you mentioned something that I wanted to talk on, imposter syndrome. I think imposter syndrome and burnout are like this. My personal burnout right now is this brutal fucking job hunt that I've been going through for the past 2.5 years. And the imposter syndrome is real. Like, because myself, and you see so many other people. I know Liam's going through it right now too, just firing out resumes, and just it goes into the void. And you think that you're good at what you do, that you're good at what you do. But when you get so much rejection over and over and over and over and over again, or just not hearing anything, being ghosted, it makes you feel like, maybe I suck. And I have the extra fun part of my parents always telling me that one reason I stuck with the family business for so long, they would tell me repeatedly that you're not good enough to work anywhere else. You have this job, as a favor, and you'll never succeed anywhere else. So when I get into these things, like I'm so deep in this job hunt and so exhausted, that goes through my head a lot. And parents, don't fuck up your kids, please. It
seems like such a simple request.
It does. It really does. But
no, I mean, I totally get that, and it's like, yeah, your parents are a special kind of shit stain. I hope they get theirs in the end somewhere. I think some of them have already gotten theirs, but yeah, no, I mean, we always doubt, right? Because we see each other through, like, we see ourselves through these critical lenses, right? Of looking at other people and saying that, like, I have never been on a list of 30 under 30, 40 under 40, 50 under 50, whatever, right? And then that used to bug me a little bit because I feel like I was competent, right? I'm like, why don't I get these opportunities?
Yeah.
And I stopped judging myself with others, right? I stopped looking at other people and being like, I kind of like, it's a singular kind of warrior mindset, but it's just like, and I'm just going to say this, y'all, without apologizing. Like, motherfuckers, you are not capable of understanding what I am capable of, and I focus on that and I bring that to me, right? I like my grandfather, when he died years ago, he had this, I went through his papers, right? And he had this little thing about like living with honor and being the person you want to be in the mirror, but it's really focused on you, right? And strengthening who you are and your resolve. And like, that's always kind of stayed with me, but it's helped. But I mean, still, I'll get imposter syndrome, right? Like, I'm getting more and more media appearances, right? And NASDAQ and some of the other stuff. And it's like, I still feel like I'm a hack, right? But I have to drown that shit out and just be like, shit, you have done shit. Like, you have a long list of accomplishments that cannot fit on a resume if it was 100 pages. So this is what you are.
Yes, that is the thing, that's one of the most valuable. I can't remember who said this to me. I think actually it's my friend Kate Giordano. She's like a legal tech writer and she's an independent contractor. We were talking about stuff around the holidays. We did a little webinar on LinkedIn. And she was like, you have to ask your anxiety or your imposter syndrome or whatever it is for evidence. Like, what is the evidence that I don't know what I'm doing? What is the evidence that I'm incompetent? What is the evidence that I'm not as good as these people who are on the 30 under 30? Usually there isn't any besides the fact that you didn't get put on 30 under 30 or whatever the thing is. Like, you, in a moment of anxiety, and that has helped me so much, is when I'm having these moments of anxiety where I'm like, it'll be something stupid. Like, I have a day where I didn't have a creative idea, right? And my brain says, you're never going to have another idea again, despite the fact that every day for 5 days before that, I was having ideas and I have plenty of ideas and it's going to be fine. That's what pops up. And so I'm learning the value of talking to myself in those moments and challenging my anxiety for evidence. But it's really hard for me. I'm someone who, and I'm working on this, but I will value the opinions of other people more than my own opinion every time. And so I need a lot of external validation. And so that's why I kind of tend to put myself out there, even though I'm very, very soft and I cannot handle anyone saying anything mean to me. So I'm like, why am I putting myself on social media all the time? Oh, because I'm getting a majority of the time I'm getting like positive feedback, right? And that's what I need to tell myself that I am not an imposter. But one strategy that I've started employing is talking to myself in my head, in the voice of my husband or my best friend or Rhea. And so if I have that negative thought, what I do is I will have one of them pretend that I'm talking to one of them and hear their voice in my head go, what the fuck are you talking about? Because that's what any of them would say to me. What are you talking about? That is not true. And, all of the things that they have said to me in the past in those circumstances. So if you're like me and you're trying to learn to validate yourself, but you're not quite there yet, that's a useful trick that I have started employing, is like, pull someone who is a support system for you, hear their voice in your head in response to what you're thinking.
No, that's really good. I mean, my inner voice is Gerard Butler from like 300.
Ooh.
He's just screaming, "No Spartan dies today." So do what y'all do.
I love that. I also once heard a trick that you're supposed to turn your self-criticism voice, like the voice that says mean things to you in your head, into someone you really hate and don't respect the opinion of. So like the example that was given is like, talk to yourself like it's Donald Trump saying it to you. But like when, like say the mean thought back to yourself in the voice of someone that you really are just like, what? Nuh-uh.
Or something funny like Elmo's voice or something like that, to just make you laugh. I think one thing that a lot of us don't realize is everybody has imposter syndrome, and whether or not they admit it. I mean, Joe Biden, I'm sure, has quite a bit of it too. He struggled with a stutter for most of his life, and he probably has times where he feels it, but he's the leader of a country. So we all have it. It's the hard part, just getting through it.
And so much is projected on you too. And like, especially for, you folks who are trans, you're like treated as imposters. All sorts of there's the participation. She was feeling that. She has feelings about imposters.
I think the other dog came out.
Oh. But like, when you're, or women too, women in general, like, are often just treated in workplace, like the workplaces aren't designed for women. The 9 to 5 is not designed for, like, nothing about corporate America is designed. It was designed when men were the ones working and women were staying home. So and even I just learned this apparently, again from Maria, apparently men's hormonal cycles are even, because men have the same like cycle every day, whereas women, our hormones change daily. And so our levels of exhaustion and things change depending on where in our hormonal cycle we are. The 9 to 5, 5-day a week work week was designed around men's hormonal cycles, where they're like top energy at 9 a.m. and done with the day at 5. So it's, all of this shit isn't designed for us. So of course we feel like imposters when we're going into it. Like, and again, every layer that you get away from the people that it was designed for, the more like an imposter you're going to be made to feel, which is bullshit. So
exactly.
I have a nickname because on Spicy Taryn. Like trans women, we have like ups and downs with hormones. Yeah. So I'm kind of just going down. I'm like finishing a cycle right now where my cycle was I eat everything in sight for the last 3 days and I try not to kill people. So it's like, so it's like, but when I do it at work, one of my colleagues is like this, Spicy Taryn is here. Just everybody shut up.
This is what we need in the workplace. We need people to just be like, it's okay that you're Spicy Taryn today, and we're just gonna roll with it, But instead you get, Taryn. What are you on the rag? Like, that's not what we need. We don't need you. Like, yes, actually, I am, no. And I don't need a reminder. Yeah.
But no, it's funny when you were talking about men's hormone cycles, because like the older I get and the more guys that I'm working with my age, I'm just like, Jesus, you guys are going through menopause. Like, just some consistency in your train of thought. Like you're like over here rage tweeting this and doing this, and then you're out drinking all night. I'm like, dude, just get some tea or something, or gym booster, and like just be done with it.
Ugh. Yep, and then we all have to deal with them, which is another source of burnout.
Well, yeah, menopause is definitely an irritant. I'm experiencing a lot of that in the last couple of years with some folks I work with.
Good times. Good times.
Good times. Boys.
Well, and then it's like all of these things on top of the imposter syndrome, on top of all of this other stuff, like just the considerations that, I'm exhausted as like a straight cis white woman walking around in the world, and I don't have to worry about where I'm going to pee, right? Like, at least that's one thing that is not on my mind. Like, so when you think about all of the extra consideration, Taryn, when you were talking about like having to plan a work thing in Utah, like that wouldn't even be, I'm going to Utah in the summer for my cousin's wedding. Didn't even think about it, and those moments where you realize those extra steps that you are having to take, every single day that you don't even consciously always think about, they just pile up.
I mean, it's been in the Vanessa, I can't speak for you, but it's been in the forefront of my mind for like the last 5 or 6 years since I came out and transitioned, right? It was like, I'm always like eyes in the back of the head, hyper vigilant.
Yep.
A lot of that comes from just violence that I encountered as a youth. So I've got the hypervigilance of a Secret Service agent protecting POTUS. But I'm constantly watching stuff. And I shared it on the pod before, like when I was in Arizona. So I was in Tucson, a little bit of a liberal city, college town. And I walked back into the hotel with my mom, and literally I could feel them, all these cishet white guys, like all staring at me, right? Mm-hmm. Some with disgust, some with anger and with hate in their eyes. And I'm walking through the lobby. And so for me, one of the things I do for confidence, right, is I walk like I'm walking a runway show in Milan to like EDM songs when I walk in somewhere. So it's like, whereas a friend of mine says, tits up and tits out. And I'm just going, right? And I'm going through it. And I'm seeing all of them in my peripheral. And then we got through the room and my mom goes, what the hell was wrong with those guys? I said, it's me, Mom. I said, some of them want to know, can I take her right now? Mm-hmm. And can they take me on? Will they fight me? Will they kill me? Why am I here? Why do I exist? I said, these are all the things going through their mind. And they let that show on their face. I said, this is what the community endures all the time. Like, you don't see it, but that's like the stress, like just being in that environment, right? I mean, thankfully, none of them had the stupidity to do anything, but still, you walk into a room where you are obviously hated. When I fly into Miami, right, I'm clocked immediately. I feel like I have sheriff's deputies on my ass throughout the airport, making sure I'm using the right restroom, which I don't because I use the family restroom, right? But you're right. I mean, that kind of stress, it's a lot. And it's why I don't go to probably about 20 states in this country. I mean,
I'm unavoidable. You have to be vigilant in order to protect yourself. You're not being paranoid or silly or hysterical. You know that there is a real risk of danger for you. And that is heavy. It's not like, oh, I'm just doing this as a precaution. Like, if I don't arm my security system tonight, just as an example, like, I'll be fine. I lived without one for forever. Like, I locked my doors, whatever, I'm fine. It's not that kind of just like extra thing. It is, you were legitimately concerned for your safety in your life a lot of the time. And that is really exhausting and also just totally unavoidable because you have to like go out and, I guess you don't have to. You could be a complete hermit, but like, obviously that's not your vibe. Maybe mine a little, but.
I don't know. I could do some hermit for a while. I mean, if I have enough cannabis, I'll be good. But no, when I was in India, I mean, I experienced that, right? Like I shared my concerns about safety. My team in India did an amazing job making sure I was safe, seen, respected. The hotel was, a high-end hotel in Bangalore. Everything was perfect, right? And then one of the people I worked with was like, don't you feel foolish being worried about your security? And it was like 2 days later, I was flying back. And my passport doesn't match, right? And I had to fill out a visa as trans. So I filled out a visa as trans. My passport doesn't match. They sent me through the men's line because I'm 6'1", and I got assaulted in the airport in front of 2,000 people at 2:30 in the morning. I was in tears at the gate, right? Like I couldn't wait to get to Germany. I was like, just get me the hell out of here. But that was like you just said, right? Like the cishet dude is just like, oh, well, don't you feel foolish being so worried? Everything worked out. In the airport, like I literally was humiliated and assaulted by a security officer in a men's line as he jammed that thing between my legs and crushed my breast with it. And like, I just felt like, and I didn't have to go this past year, right? Year end. But I'm telling you, it was like that to me it just how people don't understand the nuances and what that means, right? Like nobody should experience that. And that is what is on the forefront, even if the ID matched, right? Because of my height, I can be classified as something else, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt like you're right. I mean, that creates a lot of stress. I mean, being in the Bay Area right now is kind of like a bit of a paradise, right? And certainly like far, far above where you are, Vanessa, right in Ohio, which is, I couldn't even imagine. Like, I think about you, right? And just think about how I have relative safety here and how you are literally in a hostile state.
Yeah.
It's like hostile territory. You have some safety here and there, but you also have a state that like literally goes out of the way to punish y'all.
It just happened. It just happened today. I got a surprise photo gig from a new client, and whenever I have new clients, I have to ask them, like, you do know that I'm trans, right? And this shoot was in a town called Doylestown, which is deep Trump country.
Oof.
And I had to ask her, I'm like, do these sellers know that I'm trans? Because I'm afraid of showing up to a house. I'm terrified to drive through the country here because there's people that would shoot me. And even just pulling up, like, what if they give me the wrong address? Because I have clients give me the wrong address all the fucking time. And I could go up to the door, especially like with this house, the doors is supposed to be vacant and the door is unlocked. I got there and the owner was there. Luckily, she's just a nice lady about my age, but you just never know. And then you hear people like online, like saying, what are you talking about? Trans people having their rights taken away. Trans people don't have their rights taken away. Like, does no one watched the news at all? That's all the government's doing. Yeah.
That's confusing to me. I mean, even if you're...
Well, because people are just so clueless. They're like, what rights are being taken away?
Right.
Like, our rights to live, like we have this. Looking at 2024, I personally think that it's going to go in our favor. I think Democrats are going to do pretty well. I hope.
Mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, but if they don't, we have Project 2025 and Trump's Agenda 47. And both of those are flat out deadly. It's full on, stages 8 and 9 of genocide that we're going to be seeing, where they are going to start unaliving us.
Yeah.
And concentration camps, whatever, if for me being post-op, my body doesn't produce hormones anymore. So if I no longer have access to my hormones, that could kill me. And that would be a slow, horrible, brutal death. And I myself, and I know a lot of other trans people, I have it in my desk. These are my old estrogen pills. I take injections now, but like my injection vials, I save a little bit in the bottom of each one because you just never know. We might need something to be able to just survive. And it's terrifying, and it's constant burnout for us on a daily fucking down to the minute level from the minute we wake up. If we have to go anywhere, like anywhere I go, I just go to Starbucks by me, and overall Starbucks is a safe place from the employees. But when I go in there, it's just a bunch of old white guys, and it's just, here's the white guys when they see me.
Yeah, constant.
I've had cars stop and stare at me, and you just never know what's going to happen. So yeah, as Taryn said, head on a swivel. And in the before times, back when I presented as just your cishet white guy, that didn't cross my mind at all. But now, going to a parking lot in a parking garage, I carry my car keys with the keys sticking out. Yeah, and it's just stuff that your cishet guy just can't comprehend. And
why would they, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to deal with it. And so until they start talking to women in their lives or other people in their lives who, I've had this conversation multiple times with men in their 30s where I'm like, every woman has been followed at some point in her life, right? And they're like, what? Like, they just think that and I'm like, yeah, it's happened to me multiple times.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And, obviously same for trans folks, regardless of if you're trans woman or trans man, like, or non-binary, like that shit still happens. And it's not just that feeling of constant danger, which would be enough on its own, right? But like, you never know where it's going to come from. And like, I think about this as a woman, right? Like, I really only have to be afraid of half the population And sometimes men that you think you're safe with turns out that you're not. And that really sucks. It's hurtful on like a whole other level. But then again, the further you get away from that straight white cis male identity, the more people that you have to worry about. So I can only imagine how difficult it is for you to not just have to keep your head on a swivel around men, but around literally everyone. I mean, anyone could be, and having to justify your existence all the time is exhausting.
Constantly.
Like, and to justify your exhaustion is exhausting. Like, can you just take our word for it that we have all this shit to deal with and we're tired? And it's something that is a human flaw that I am certainly guilty of not even thinking about something that doesn't apply to me until someone else has talked to me about it. So
we all do that.
We all do it. But don't, when someone does tell you something like that, don't tell them they're wrong.
Yeah. Don't talk over them, listen and respect it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Every time
will help combat burnout.
Okay, every time you give a thumbs up, it pops up like this like thumbs up bubble on your screen.
I'm not doing it.
It's funny. You do a thumbs up and it pops up this bubble on your screen. And now it's not doing it.
Like registering it. Oh,
it was.
I thought one of you was like liking what I was saying.
No, I think it was. I'm like, what is going on? But now that you're actually trying to do it, it doesn't do it. So, yeah.
But it was kind of cool though. I was like, wow. I'm like, are we doing bubbles and thumbs up now? That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, how was that a thing? Like, I'm confused. I want that, I
mean, you can do it from the reactions, right? Like but that's different.
Totally different. You have something that pops up on yours.
That's so weird. Yeah, I saw it. I was seeing it. I was just, well.
The podcast listeners are probably like, what the fuck?
What are you talking about? Zoom is giving us little emojis.
Yeah.
Gesture.
If you have any questions, watch the YouTube video and you'll see.
You go.
There you go.
What we're talking about. But anyway, I just think that it's so, y'all have just so many extra things to worry about. And I don't understand the tendency to just dismiss it and be like, well, you're wrong about that with your lived experience. Like, what's the why?
Yeah.
Why do you assume you know better than the person who's experiencing it?
I always feel like it's someone who's a little bit higher on the narcissism scale, right?
Yeah.
So that's usually the thing where there's like a lack of empathy and understanding and, just not getting the picture. So I feel like maybe some people that lean towards narcissism tend to be the people that kind of dismiss you, like, oh, don't worry about nothing. Until it happens to you, right? So, but no, I mean, Vanessa, you covered it. Like Project 2025 is terrifying for me. And I have a lot of privilege, right? And I've got some 56. I want to tap out by 62. Do some volunteer work for a couple of years, then retire. My goal is to leave this country and to find somewhere safe, like a safe zone on this planet. And I can like burn the passport, burn the citizenship papers, and be done. Keep the social security pieces of crap. Like I'm just like, I just don't want to be here, right? Because if you read that document, it talks about what we're starting to see, right? Which is how they document and how they classify being trans, being LGBTQ, 2SIA as a pornographic type of material, which means it's a felony for us to be within a certain amount of feet of a school, be around children, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that like Vanessa so well said that this will lead to camps and prisons, right?
Yes.
Where we will not be able to be in society. It's extricating us from there. And I hope that it does not come to fruition. I am kind of hopeful, like, because we're already seeing like Ron DeSatan, his one, don't say gay. And we're seeing some courts overrule some of that stuff, right? Like you can't teach it, but you can talk about it because it's free speech, right? Like you're not hurting anything, having a conversation. So we're seeing some of these things fall apart because conservatives do a lot. They do this really well. They hate super well. They hate like a master, like it's like the Rembrandts of hate. That's the conservative parties. But what they do horribly is write legislation because most of them aren't even lawyers, right? They're like, they're I don't know, like, I don't want it to mean anybody's thing, whatever Marjorie Taylor Greene was before she ran. But they can't write law. And it's easily challenged in court, right? So we're seeing things fail. I think Ohio had something. Was it Ohio that had something else fail? I know West Virginia had something recently fail.
West Virginia had the thing where we wouldn't be able to go near schools fail. Yeah. Which is
Thank
good.
God, but I don't even have that much as former legal employee. Like, I'm glad that that's happening because maybe, pre-Trump era, I would have been like, yeah, I have faith that the courts will do the right thing, but not anymore. Like,
No.
and I never should have really, because then I read a bunch of cases that happened in the pre-Trump era, and I was like, oh, courts are crazy. But and they have way too much power in this country. But like, it's, the Supreme Court, especially the fact that we can't remove anyone is
we need to pack
other
it.
country does this. Like, it's nuts. But I'm glad to hear that it's going that way. That does give me a little bit of faith, but I don't want anyone to, rest on their laurels and assume that is a given because, and I know the two of you don't want that either. And that's not what you were saying at all, but like, the courts are also affected by political,
They are. Things are only turning around too, because there are people fighting in Florida. There are groups that are fighting this stuff, tooth and nail. And if they weren't there doing that, these changes wouldn't happen. But they shouldn't have to fucking be there to do that. They should be able to just live their lives. And
isn't it exhausting to just hate everyone all the time? Like, talk about burnout.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound fun to me. Like, how you walk around assuming that every person who's just trying to live their life is like attacking you personally somehow by just existing. Like, that's really tiring.
Hate comes out in the skin. So like, as you can see, a lot of those like right wingers you see out there, Donald Trump with his horrible skin and his orange tint, hate damages the skin. So like, that's why we all look really young.
No, I'm 37, so we're all keeping it very tight.
We are.
Glowing.
You have no idea.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like that stuff comes out. The monster you are on the inside comes out on the outside. Happens.
It's true.
All the time.
It's toxicity. It's just pure toxicity.
Alive.
Yeah, it does. This episode's going the way that I'm kind of hoping to kind of push the show towards, where we've been so trans focused up until now. But I also wanting to also focus on the humanity part of transcending humanity. And I love that we were able to just talk as three people. And yeah, we did talk about trans stuff here as well, but we're just three people like in the workplace, three women in the workplace trying to just do our things. So that's why it's amazing to be able to have this conversation with both of you. So my back hurts.
I have been really looking forward to talking with Kate.
Yeah. Me too.
I love your media. I love like our interactions on social media. I was like, oh my God, you're so awesome. Like, I just want to like have coffee with you. So it's kind of nice to be able to do this with you. So I can't
thank you. Right back at you. And Vanessa, of course, you and I have already spent time together on my podcast, but always a pleasure. And I really appreciate you having me on and chatting with me. And yeah, Taryn, definitely, if next time I'm in the Bay Area, or if God forbid you ever wind up where I am in the middle of the Nevada desert, we'll have to grab some coffee. If we go here, we'll go to my house. Okay. Coffee at the safety of my home.
I would love to come visit you in Nevada.
Oh my God.
I love Nevada.
Not the town where I am, but yeah, sure.
It's just a gorgeous state. That's one thing that bumps me out about not being able to go to Utah, because I remember taking road trips through Utah, through like the Green River area, where
it is beautiful.
It's so fucking pretty, and I can't go there anymore. It bums me out.
Such a bummer. So, yeah, Utah, shape up.
Yeah.
Let trans people travel safely. Everywhere, shape up.
Yeah, the entire fucking red block of blah that Aaron reads maps that are just here's everywhere that you can't go.
The overlay of where I can't go as a trans woman is almost the same overlay of where I couldn't go as a brown person before transitioning.
Yeah.
It's funny because I mean, when I look at the Deep South, I'm like, there were states that I went to that I was like treated like utter garbage. And I'm like, wow. So at least you're consistent with your hate. So it's like,
yeah.
So it's like, don't like you because you're brown, don't like you because you're trans. Perfect. Yeah.
Their hate is very intersectional. If they could just turn that around to not be hate, then,
imagine.
It's crazy.
That's a fucking bumper right there.
I was going to say that's a t-shirt or something. That's great.
The right wing. Their hate is intersectional. Oh, fuck. Where's the merch?
Except they'll probably grab.
We do need to get the merch going.
Yeah, you definitely need some merch.
Yeah, I want to get the logo redesigned, but again, I don't have any money, so it's sometime. But I'm still looking for an artist. I was kind of hoping to use the ones that Kate was using, but I never heard from them. So.
Oh well, if you reach out to Taylor, I think she followed you on Insta, or you followed her.
I followed her. She's not following me, but
okay, she's not on there that much, to be honest. Yeah. But I did tell her about you, so I can also reach out and see if she's okay with me like giving you her number or anything.
Okay.
So you can actually get in touch with her. But she's also just had a lot going on. So
yeah.
Yeah,
we all have. So
right.
Because that does need to be a t-shirt. Conservative hate is intersectional. So we need to have fun. Yeah, right wing. Yeah, hate is intersectional. Yeah. We need mugs. We need hoodies. We need fucking all that stuff. So either you have any closing thoughts. I need to sign off here before my dog starts losing her shit again. So,
Kate, you go first for the closing thought.
Okay. Well, I feel like I offered a lot of like the problems and maybe not as many solutions. We always try and like give some manner of practical advice. I would just say practice positive self-talk. It sounds cheesy and like it's not going to work, but I promise you it does. The more you do it, the more your neural pathways will get used to being kind to you, and you will start talking to yourself positively in your own head before you know it. It's a practice though. And don't beat yourself up if you are not being perfect at it. And I would say, when you're in these moments of stress, if you are in a circumstance where you are going to experience prolonged stress and there's really nothing you can do about it, all you can do is try and manage it. So do what you can. Some of the stuff we mentioned earlier, tapping, screaming, crying, whatever you have to do to just work your way through that stress cycle. And check out the Legal Burnouts if you want any more anti-burnout advice, and keep listening to this show and support it so that it can keep going. Because I think that what you all do here is so fucking important and really vital and helpful, and is probably helping more people than you even realize or know. So
that's why we keep doing it.
I know. And I know how difficult and expensive it can be to make your own podcast. So go on Patreon and support this podcast.
Yeah, send us money.
Yeah,
come on.
Send money.
Money helps with bills.
It does.
It does.
Awesome, Kate. Thanks. So I'm going to just share something that seconding what Kate had said. Find that way to relieve the stress that you're constantly in. For me, it's walking. Sometimes I punch a heavy bag and knock it down to the ground. That I find that really, exhausting myself kind of breaks the stress up a little bit. But remember that these are jobs, right? They're not your life. They aren't the all-encompassing measure of your life. So always prioritize what's important to you, prioritize who you love, prioritize what feeds you, what heals you, what helps you grow, right? And just be able to try to really compartmentalize some of the angst and the stress and the anxiety from work, and kind of set those boundaries that reinforce that. I've done that throughout my career, and it has helped me have stronger relationships with people when I can set that like Berlin Wall boundary and just be able to hold it and maintain it. And if people can't respect that, then you got to cut them off. And you've got to be really get the people. Yeah, I was going to say, bring the people in that support and help you and uplift you, and kind of cut out the people who don't.
Yeah. Cut toxicity out of your life. It can be hard to do.
You tell a lot about a person from how they respond to you setting boundaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Kate, thank you for being on the show. You're welcome to come back anytime. We love having you.
Absolutely.
And Taryn, thank you again for being here this week. And you both look gorgeous today. And
as do you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Tune in next time for who knows what we're going to talk about. Something, we are always open to suggestions of topics too. You're welcome to send us a message on our website, transcendinghumanity.com, or transcending.humanity.podcast@gmail.com. I had to think about that for a second. Why do I keep making these long email addresses? It's such a pain to when
the episode we released today, I put out a clip on Monday of me stumbling over. Immediately, I go to tell our email address, and I'm like, S as in, I don't know, snake, trying to do some kind of phonetic thing, and just bombed right off the bat. That was just like, fuck it, it's stories@thelegalburnouts.com.
There you go. Stories@thelegalburnouts.com. That's easy. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you both. Thank you, people, for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time and stuff.
Bye.
Bye. Oops. No, that's not what I wanted to hit. I wanted to hit.
Come to me, the night is dark. Come to me, the night is long. Sing for me, I'll sing along. Sing for me, oh sing for me. Sway with me, we'll make them scream. Dance with me, we'll make them bleed. Sing for me, I'll sing along. Sing for me, oh sing for me. Listen, do you hear it? Listen, do you feel it? Listen, I'm calling you. Listen, you do know me. Listen, swing and roll me. Listen, I'm calling you. Listen, do you hear it? Listen, do you feel it?